Hey everybody, and welcome to your new moon chat, I think we'll call this. I'm Kim, and I thought I might just pop on here seeing as tonight is the new moon and discuss what that means, how we can harness the energy that she gives us, and introduce you to a few of the rituals that I do in order to live more in tune with the lunar phases. So we'll start first with what is the new moon? Well, the new moon is actually the beginning of the lunar phase. So there's four main phases in your lunar cycle, new moon being the first of them. So when you're looking up at the sky, chances are you're likely not going to see the moon. You're looking at the unlit backside of the moon, so it makes her black, matching the sky, making her invisible, practically invisible to the naked eye. So what does this phase of the lunar cycle mean? Well, the new moon being the beginning of the lunar cycle is the beginning of things. So we're starting our 28 journey into creating abundance, into living in tune with the moon, into syncing our energies and understanding our emotions. So this is the beginning of our journey. So according to the Farmer's Almanac, this is also when farmers are to plant seeds because the gravitational pull makes the water come up closer to the surface of the soil, making it optimal for planting. The same can be true for us, planting our intention. So the new moon is the perfect time for us to figure out what we want to create more abundance of in our life, and also but to start planting that seed within us. So this leads me into my ritual. So there's actually two things that I do. I do either one or the other. So the first one is a meditation that helps me to dig deep and look within and try and figure out what it is that I need to create more of in my life. What is it that I wish I had more of? What do I want to create more abundance of? Good health, security, safety for my family, more money, financial freedom, happiness, things like this. So my meditation generally helps me to zero in and hone in on what specifically it is that I want to create more of. If I have a little bit more time though, I like to really journal this shit out. Anybody that has been to any of my workshops or my classes knows that journaling is an intricate part of my ritual for anything. So in order to journal during this portion of the moon phase, I always write down everything that I love. What would my perfect life be? So what is something that I want to bring more of into my life? And I literally write the most ridiculous things: living on an island, having mango trees in the backyard, having my whole family and all of my friends live on one giant piece of property as a commune. These type of things that just kind of flow in and out of my mind, and that really excite me when I write them down. I take my time here. So I usually come up with a good 2 pages full of anything that pops into my mind that I really like. And then once I'm done, I start to narrow it down. So I go through each one of those. I read them out loud, but in front of it I put, I live on a deserted island. And then I just kind of listen to my body and see how it feels when I say that. Does it really excite me? If it does, I write it down on my third piece of paper. If it's something that I'm like, okay, I'm already lonely being in quarantine, how the hell am I gonna live on a deserted island by myself? So, or with my family. So that would probably come right off the list. Once I'm done that, I look to probably narrow those 2 pages down to about 10 items. And then once I have my 10 items, I really start to think about each one. My goal is to get it down to one intention during this new moon phase. So by looking at the 10 that I was able to write down on my worksheet, I now am able to try and eliminate some and really sink into the one that speaks the most to me. Hopefully I'm able to narrow that down to one. If not, I'll go with two and then kind of play with them both during my meditations and see which one feels right. Once I have that done, I write a letter. So I write a letter out actually to the universe and just let them know that this is what I'm creating during these 28 days, guys. Bring it on down. So in order to do that, I actually write a letter, and I write just literally, dear universe, this is what my intention is for this lunar cycle. I'll write my intention out, and I'll write thank you 3 times, and then I'll sign and date it. Once I do that, I grab my clear crystal quartz. So crystal quartz is something that I use in my new moon rituals. And the main reason that I choose it, A, it's stunning, and B, is because it is an amplifier. So any of the other crystals that I'm going to use throughout my lunar phase, it's going to amplify their qualities. I also wish for it to amplify my intention. So when I fold my letter, I'm going to fold it twice so that it's folded in 4. I'm going to place it on my altar, and I'm going to top it with my crystal quartz. So after that, I'm going to keep that intention in my mind, and I'm going to kind of gather things that bring that intention close to me. For example, if I'm looking to draw more money into me, I'm probably going to put maybe a dollar bill or a $5 bill on my altar, some change. I'm going to look up and see that probably I'm going to put some citrine or some carnelian next to my altar as well. Things that when I look at my altar, it's going to trigger the thought of my intention. It's also going to bring in some more of that same energy that I require in order to manifest it. So once I've narrowed down what my intention is, I'm going to use it. So anyone that knows me knows what I'm going to say next. The mala is coming out. I'm going to do a 108 breath meditation using that newly acquired intention / mantra. And I'm going to also ensure that my mala is cleansed. So sometimes I'll use the same intention for more than just the one lunar cycle. But if I'm changing it, I'm going to cleanse my mala before setting a new intention upon it. I also have, if you can believe it, quite a collection of malas. So sometimes I have some specifically made for certain intentions, or that are made with certain semi-precious stones or crystals that have the same energy of the intention that I have set throughout this upcoming lunar phase. And I'll use that mala too. So that's about it, guys. I want to talk just a little bit more about how you may find yourself feeling during this new moon phase. So the new moon is a time when we often feel like withdrawing a little bit, like becoming an introvert. And it's really hard sometimes to allow yourself just to chill. But this is the time that you should be allowing yourself to do so. The energy levels are a little bit lower. We can't really see the moon, so the energy we're receiving from her is a little bit less. You should be treating yourself to some really long daydreams to figure out what you love the most, to some really delicious home-cooked hearty foods that involve some root vegetables to ground you down and keep you feeling safe and secure during this time. And for your yoga practice, you should be doing some yin or restorative classes, some slower hatha classes perhaps, but just really taking the time to honor how you're feeling during this phase. I also love following the moon for this one reason. It allows me to give myself permission to slow down. So I always have a million things on my plate, 100 things running through my head. I feel like my Manipura chakra is constantly on fire. And I really love the fact that since I've started living with the moon phases and keeping track of how my emotions and my physical feelings are during each phase, I love the fact that when I feel a little bit more tired or withdrawn, or I want to use the word lazy, but it's not lazy. It'd be more lackadaisical, let's call it. Um, if I reflect back to how this phase of the moon generally affects me, this is normal. So it really allows me to stay in bed a little bit longer without guilt, or not do any work this week with no guilt, because I know that this is what my body needs right now, and this is what's best for me during this time. I also know that when this phase starts to pass out and I move into my waxing phase, that the fire is going to start again, and I'm going to start ramping up, and then all those thoughts and all of that work is going to come right back in. So I have now allotted a time every 28 days that I am allowed to do nothing. I'm allowed to rest. I do not have guilt for it anymore. I am not feeling under the weather. I'm just simply under the new moon. So I feel like that's about all that I have in my brain to share right now with you. But I would love to hear any questions that you have. I by no means am an expert in this area. I just have been living by the lunar phases for a little bit now, and I've really come to, as you can tell, embrace it. So I'm really happy to answer any questions that I can, or guide you in the right direction if I can't. I also want to know, what are your rituals? What are you doing to celebrate the new moon? How do you feel during it? Do you also feel a little bit lackluster, or am I like, or is it something that is not in your phase? So I would love for you to hit me up in the comments down below. I want to hear everything. I want to know whatever you're thinking, and I would love to hear what you think about my ritual, and if there's any part of it that you can incorporate into your life. So for now, I'll sign off. I have added a new moon flow that I recorded a few months ago underneath here for you to follow if you want to follow along with a really gentle yin class. I have also added a meditation to find your personal mantra or your intention for this new moon phase. And then also the 108 breath meditation, and it will kind of guide you if you don't have a mala, or even if you do have a mala. I keep time so that you know when your 108 breaths are up. If you're going to do anything new, or if you're only going to choose one thing to do through this new moon, do the journaling. It's so empowering, guys, when you can figure out what it is that you love, narrow it down, and then begin to manifest it. It's so empowering. I feel like that's it now. I might have more, but that's it. So I will chat with you soon. I really look forward to your comments, and I hope everybody has a wonderful new moon.